Today, I had the pleasure of interviewing Ayanna Coleman. Ayanna Coleman is a business efficiency and marketing consultant with a background in the New York publishing industry and non-for-profit world who has a passion for supporting entrepreneurs and growth stage organizations. She has worked with New York Times best-selling authors, Grammy Award-winning artists, internationally sought-after speakers, inspiring non-for-profit organizations in the US, the UK, and Japan, and trailblazing entrepreneurs in their industry. When she moved to Japan in 2018, she pivoted her business and life goals and opened Quill Shift LLC, where she primarily works with entrepreneurs and organizations who know their passion and gift to the world, but don't have the exact expertise on hand to run a business around it. She helps them organize their business practices and marketing techniques so they can spend less time questioning if they are taking the right business steps and more time connecting with their ideal clients in a personable and professional way. Stay tuned for the second edition of our Business in Japan series with Ayanna Coleman. Now, for the second segment, I forgot to say as well at the beginning, Dasha, my partner, unfortunately, partner in crime today couldn't be here with us, so I have the sole responsibility to interview our wonderful guest, Ayanna, here. So let's get started. So you've been now running your business, I think, for 2 years right now in Japan?
2.5, yes.
2.5 years. So how has that experience been like?
Very, very interesting.
Okay.
It has been.
You care to elaborate? It's very interesting.
It has been. I think I was reluctant, right, to start because I came here and I was thinking, okay, I can just learn Japanese, right, and I could focus on our 2.5 year stint here, just like understanding Japan, learning Japanese, really like just taking it all in and not doing anything, right? Not running a business, not doing anything. But then after like a month, I got really bored. And
so, sorry, I'm gonna stop you just for 2 seconds because I think just a little background information. Yes. You also came here with your partner,
my husband,
right?
Yes,
right.
yes, right. I did, and it was his company that brought us over, and I, was working full time for another company while I was running my business.
Okay.
So when I decided, yes, that was a rough couple of beginning years.
Yeah,
yes.
of course.
Early mornings, late nights, weekend work, but definitely worth it because it really gave me insight into how hard entrepreneurs work, how hard small businesses work, and also understanding that if you don't have a safety net, like and no support, then oh my gosh. So when I came over to Japan with my husband, and I was thinking I could just really embrace the culture and the experience, which I do believe I still have, but I also realized quite early on that I was meeting a lot of women, a lot of female entrepreneurs who were in the same situation that I was. They came over with their husbands or their partners, and because they're on spousal visa, they technically can't work, or they can ask the government to work part-time, so that they can only work 28 hours a week, I want to say.
Okay.
Which for someone who comes from working full-time and having a career to a country that doesn't look at women the same way as they look at men in a lot of respects, that can be very disheartening for spouses coming over. And so what a lot of women do when they realize this is they're like, well, I can start my own company, and they do that, and so they start their own kind of jewelry making business or their own consulting business or something like that, and they're really good at what their services are. They're really good at making those products, but they're not very good necessarily about marketing themselves. And so as I was meeting more and more women, I was like, okay, well, I can help you with that. You have your zone of genius, and I 100% feel that people should be able to be as much in their zone of genius as possible. And so let me help you with the other stuff. And that's kind of how it evolved.
That's how you started.
That's how I started in Japan.
How did you find the whole administrative setup? Easy, hard, medium?
Because I was able to I just brought my company over, right? So I'm still I'm still a New York LLC, and everything is still U.S. based. And so when I bill people, I bill them in USD, and I had all of my systems already set up. Basically, when I was being a literary agent, that I was able to just kind of bring everything over. So I had, I used QuickBooks, and I have my email marketing, and I have my website already, and all of those things. All that was thankfully set up. And then, because I was dealing with more back and forth contracts and things like that, and a different nature than I would as a literary agent, I use other systems now to make sure I track the contracts so that I'm not having to think about where is this and following up and all that kind of stuff. So I've added a few more systems, but mostly everything was kind of already
just copy paste from what you had before. Okay, very good. Yeah, that's also good for quick setup as well, right?
Exactly, and for business efficiency, that's what I'm sharing with clients too. It's how to streamline your processes so that you don't have to take up more manual labor and time and mental energy and free that up to do the work that you want to do.
As you said, you focus on your craft basically,
exactly.
Right? That's a good point. You touched upon something as well, so I'll take it a step back as well, but you said you need to have a safety net when you first come here, right? So what do you understand by a safety net? What would be a good safety net for somebody who wants to start a business in Japan?
Well, safety net for just starting a business, right? I mean, a lot of people don't start businesses because they feel like, oh, I don't, especially for women, I'm not qualified enough, right? For some reason, for women, that I don't think men have this problem as much as women do, of I don't have enough experience, I'm not qualified enough to do this. So having that self-confidence, and then the money part, right? Because, and that's what I did when I was in New York. I was still working full-time and building up my business because I was like, I still need to feed myself and I can do this. But a lot of people think that they have to just kind of cold turkey go and do their business, and in that sense it makes them very scared and kind of very coming from a place of fear instead of a place of excitement when they go out and do their own business, because they're like, I need to make ends meet and I don't have the monetary safety net to kind of go slow and to kind of lay the foundation for myself to build up and long-term succeed. So that's what I was talking about.
So that's what you mean by having
this. Exactly.
Okay, I understood. And you also said that you met a lot of women when you first came that were, they had started something or they had the potential to start something, but they didn't know exactly how to market themselves.
Exactly.
So tell us a little bit more about how did you, as a new person to the country, how did you start meeting people? How did you meet people who also are in a business, business mindset? How was the whole beginnings here that led you to start this?
That led me to start it. So before I moved to Japan, I was really, really worried because at first I was like, are there any black people in Japan? And will they know how to even interact with me? And I did a look-see trip, so I came about 6 months prior to our move and kind of toured Japan for 2 weeks, specifically Tokyo. And I loved it. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the people. So clean compared to New York. Then
compared to many cities, I think it's
compared to many cities. And so after I was like, okay, I can live here. But I had lived in New York for about 8 years, and I had built up a network, and I had built up a community, and I had built up so many systems of living and loving the city and feeling connected that when I was thinking about coming to Japan, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know the language, I don't really know the city, I have no one here except for my partner. I'm gonna go stir crazy. And so I did some research, and I was looking at volunteer opportunities actually, because in the States volunteering is a big thing, and I've come to realize it is not that big around the world. And in Japan, and so I was searching for volunteer activities, and there was one organization that actually had created this massive 20-page list of volunteer activities, and I was just like, this is amazing. I want to learn about this organization that put this together because I'm very impressed. And that organization was called FEW, for Empowering Women, and so that was an organization that when I came here, I checked out, and I ended up being on the board of this organization with your wife, which is how we met. And that's how I kind of met a lot of really interesting, ambitious, warm, welcoming women, and learned more about the expat community through FEW.
Okay. So is this something something that you recommend women who are in the same position as you that come to Japan for the first time to do, to not only meet with, you know, organizations first of all, to increase their network, or is there another way that you would recommend? Yeah.
I definitely recommend looking at organizations. I think that's kind of like low-hanging fruit because you can meet a lot of people and not just who are part of that one organization, but you know, people who are members and not members who are coming to events, and you know, you go and hear speakers and you learn about other opportunities. So looking up organizations that you're interested in based on your interest, right, is very, very important. I also was looking at like fostering facilities. So like I love dogs, and I was like, maybe I'll volunteer at something like that here. Exactly.
Did you find one? Yeah.
I did. I found one. And so before coronavirus, I was going and walking the dogs and things like that. And then I would say being very open because people are, I have found, very open and very nice here, and I have like been adopted by different Japanese families who just kind of taken a shine to me and my partner, and we have gone to soccer games with them, and I have gone to Yokohama with them, and Nagoya with them, and you know, they've taken me to restaurants that I would have never known and been able to go. So just being open and appreciative of the culture and the people within it, because when you do that, they are very appreciative of you. And I think that has been, I've had some of my best experiences through those connections outside of the organizations and things that I've been involved in.
Okay, understood. So shifting gears a little bit and going back more to now the business side as well. How did you initially generate clients from Japan? Because I think you're still working as well with the US.
Yes. And
you're working as well with Japan. You have different time zones.
Yes.
So I'm just painting the complexity. So how do you as well get around all of the issues, maybe dealing with time difference, dealing with generating clients remotely and also locally, etc.?
The time difference. I take all of my US meetings in the morning.
Okay.
And I have multiple time zones on my phone. And Google Calendar is very
reminders.
Reminders, exactly. Alarms. Google Calendar is really great because it lets you make the appointment in the person's time zone, so that then when it comes up on my calendar, though, it's on my calendar in my time zone, but I made it in the person's time zone so that it flows correctly. When it comes to generating clients, when I came over, most of my clients were US based. And just within the last year, they've really turned more Japanese. Yes.
That's very cool.
So for US clients, because mainly I was working still in the publishing industry doing marketing consulting in that realm, I had a network. And so when I was like, hey, I'm doing this now, I had people that I could tell, and I had people I could talk to, and I had people that I had formed relationships with that were small publishers. And I was like, I can help you with this now. Like, I know that you don't have a full-time marketing director, but I know that you have a book coming out or something like that. So I was able to, with my personal connections, just reach out to people and say like, hey, we can work together now. So that was kind of what was going on for the first year and a half. And then as I started meeting more people, more women who had their own businesses here, and in Japan, it's more of a slow burner because you know you really have to make that connection, and they have to trust you, and they have to kind of maybe see what you're doing a couple of times and hear your stories before they're like, oh, you can help me. Oh, maybe you can help me. And like, of course, I knew that from 6 months prior for the first but they have to come to it obviously. And in Japan, I've learned that that's kind of that keeping up the connection and keeping up the kind of slow, steady support, so that then they can finally be like, oh yes, okay, let's go.
And did you find this was true for Japanese clients as well as also non-Japanese clients, or mainly Japanese clients?
No, both.
Okay.
Both in Japan, yeah.
So it's not just a cultural thing; it's also just maybe a Japan thing somehow.
I think it's a Japan thing.
It's a Japan thing.
It's a Japan thing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also in a completely different business where I do logistics for a manufacturing company, and I also noticed this. I think, but mainly with Japanese.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's very slow burn. I think that's a good term. It takes time because it's all about building relationships and also making sure that you have you have as you say, a track record, right? You build that somehow. So that's important. So that's a good point. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Did you find any noteworthy differences between the USA, doing business in the USA and doing business in Japan, besides the one that you mentioned, the slow burn? Is there anything else that you think is noteworthy?
I think that in the United States, you can be very direct and very clear with what you're saying, what you want, what's going to be happening. Like like this is what this next, this next, this next, and then we'll talk here, and then this, and like everybody good. Okay, we can keep moving. And in Japan, what I think I have been challenged by is. What I've always striven for was clarity and communication in the United States, and just being very clear about where I am, where you are, and what's happening. I feel like sometimes that clarity is taken as aggressiveness.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah.
And so, but people don't tell you. And so I'm thinking I'm being very clear and I'm being very upfront and I'm just being very...
what you know, right, to do.
What I know. But then to others, it can be very invasive.
Okay.
And so kind of really making sure that I'm reading in between lines and listening, and this is where kind of having the video calls or being face-to-face and having conversations is really important in Japan if you can, because emails are not the best way to communicate certain things. Yeah.
Do you think that depends on the industry though? That in some because I feel I was previously in recruiting, and they used to always tell us, okay, emails is not the way forward. I guess recruiting is a sales environment, so you have to be very pushy somehow, right? You have to be a little bit more aggressive. It was being on the phone. They would tell us emails is mainly for confirmation and not even that, but the majority of your communication should be via phone or face to face if possible.
Right. I love face to face. I always prefer face to face, but I'm also from the publishing industry.
Yeah, so you understand.
So I very much love writing things and like rewriting things and making sure I have the perfect words and the perfect flow, which is just not, I mean, in business too, it's kind of like, that's usually not the best way to do it.
It's not the best way.
Being face to face is the best way to do it.
That makes sense, because I don't know how long your situation is in Japan.
Well, it's been extended because of Corona.
Yeah, that's what I think. I wanted to ask you this as well, how you feel about the whole situation now with Corona, because it's a bit difficult to work probably with things that are stalling in the US. So some of your clients might not, I don't know, is there any impact on the business?
There's impact everywhere. I think I thought, okay, when I looked at coronavirus, and of course it has impacted every industry, and some
not every logistics is doing pretty well, I think.
No, but it's adversely impacted many industries, but it's been good for certain industries, right? So
exactly,
it's
you're right.
Everyone, but yes, there are fewer that have like gone up instead of gone down. And so and that plays the same when it comes to kind of entrepreneurs. Some entrepreneurs in certain industries and the way that they had set themselves up did and are doing very well during coronavirus. For me, it's been interesting because I had one of my biggest projects during coronavirus because I was helping a yoga studio starting in February kind of look at their processes and kind of streamline some of them and bring them like update their website and create more of a digital system to check people in, right? So like go away from paper, go away from pencil and paper, and do digital. And then coronavirus happened, and then it was like, okay, we actually need to like up this up because people can't even come to the studio now, so you're going to need to do everything online. And thank goodness we were already transitioning everything over so that I could just make everything that they're doing online, everything digital, set them up with Zoom. Their new reservation system would work and integrate perfectly with that. Make sure that their website was ready to be, help them with the marketing and kind of transition their students over and kind of get everybody on the same page so they could get up and running very quickly. So I did that from February to June, basically. Like they were up and running, I think, at the beginning of April so that they could really do their business online. But I was still consulting and doing marketing and stuff for them through June to make sure that everything
was working smoothly.
Yes. So I mean, from that point of view, I don't think they would have done the full switch that they kind of needed to do if they didn't have the dire push of coronavirus and not being able to do anything in person anymore. On the other hand, I had people who were interested in working with me, but then they were like, well, now all of my clients are gone. I don't know when I'm going to have steady stuff again, and so let's hold off. I'm like, it's a pity because I'm thinking if you have more time, you should, now is the time to actually invest in your systems and in your business and in your marketing and ramp up so that when coronavirus is over, when things start kind of calming down again, you are ready to take advantage of that. So that was something that disappointed me a little bit, but I can also understand when times get tough and you're like, oh no, you want to hunker down and save instead of invest. But I feel like almost all of the business advice is to invest during these times.
And that's what I would think would be, it sounds counterintuitive.
It does.
But it probably makes more business sense in a sense, right? As you explained as well, right? It's all about when things start picking up, are you in the position
Are you in the position?
But if you've saved, you've made absolutely no changes to your business.
Right.
You haven't adapted basically to the new situation, right? So I think I hear a lot of business and entrepreneurs saying that actually the periods of crisis is when they actually make more money. That's the time when they actually profit the most. So it's a pity, but at least you got to keep some clients as well.
Exactly.
So then if you go back to the US now you extended, but if you go back to the US, then I think this whole working across borders is no secret to you. So you could also take clients back with you, make some more clients wherever you go next.
Exactly, wherever we go next. I mean, that's the plan of being able to take the learnings and understandings and the kind of intercultural understandings that I've gained here, and wherever I go next, whether that be Germany, whether that be back to the US, whether that be Spain, or wherever, and say, okay.
Spain. You guys say, that's nice.
Yeah.
Nice weather, nice.
Yes. Being like, okay, I've learned these things, and I learned these things about certain things about myself too, and how I work, and how I lead, and how I can go into different companies and different situations and work with different types of people and try and get them all to agree on and support kind of the goals that we're all working towards, and kind of take those learnings and apply them moving forward. Because one thing I've learned is that international experiences provide you with a lot of growth potential, and being open to that and understanding that and being grateful for that and then using that is so invaluable.
What would be your advice to any young entrepreneur, mainly female, that comes from anywhere in the world to Japan? What would be your advice if you had one piece of advice? Okay, I'll make it out. Make it 2, 3, however much you want.
A little bit more room there. Oh gosh, okay. I would say, one, trust yourself. When I first came to Japan, I was very nervous about standing out because I would just inherently stand out, and so I tried not to stand out more. But then I realized that me and who I am, being the individual that I am, that is an asset, and I shouldn't kind of downplay that asset, no matter if certain people don't want me to be so self-assured. I should be, and I have a right to be, and so trust yourself and trust your instincts there. And then I think the second thing, more specifically on Japan, is just be very open to the culture and to the society, because it is a very generous culture and society, and there are, just like anywhere, amazing people here, and amazing opportunities to learn, to grow, to be surprised, and if you're open to that, then you will gain so much.
Well, I think that's it. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you very much. That was it's a great ending. So thank you very much for being on the Lit podcast today.
Thank you.
And yeah, wishing you all the best for the rest, basically.
Thanks.
The rain in Spain stays
The rain-
mainly in the plane. This is what I remember from.
Pygmalion, that's it. So on a literary note, thank you for tuning in, guys. Till the next time.